So welcome to this Headless SaaS edition of MCP Connect. Thank you for coming. So this is our 12th edition of MCP Connect. We've done some editions in the past in Paris, San Francisco, Berlin, London, and it's the second one in San Francisco. Thank you for being here. We're planning more of these in the future, so it's one of the few. You can follow our calendar using the first QR code and even propose a talk if you're interested using the second one.
We are always looking for speakers, so yeah, please submit any talk. Very happy to have you speak the next time we organize this, let you take a picture. And yeah, the next one is actually in New York next week, and there is Lisbon in a month, and yeah.
And tonight's agenda will be, we have a talk from Neil of Sentry, who will teach us how to monitor your MCP agents. And then we'll have a talk from Bitmovin, how they managed to get the MCP in production and what they learned along the way. And lastly, we'll have a talk from Alpic, how to build SaaS interfaces in an agentic era. So I leave Charles with MCP news for the past week.
Yes, so before we start, I just wanted to give you some of the latest news that we had around the MCP. The first one was Google I/O a couple weeks ago. So as you know, MCP apps is now supported in Cloud, ChatGPT, of course, Cursor, VS Code, Goose, and a few others. Gemini app seems to be next. They showed a bunch of demos with something that looks like MCP apps, but maybe it's not MCP apps. We don't know. We know we have good source of information that there's going to be apps that are going to be based on UCP for people who sell products. So UCP is the Universal Commerce Protocol. We know for sure that Google is going to push for having people build on top of a UCP if you're selling a product. But if you have an app like Spotify, which they do have a Spotify app in Gemini, it's not very clear what the protocol underneath is. My bet it's going to be MCP apps, but you never know with Google. So that's the first news. The second news is that there is a MCP release candidate that's cooking at the moment. There's a lot of stuff. The first big one is the protocol is moving to fully stateless protocol. This is great because it means that all of the big MCP server out there is going to be a lot easier to scale. MCP apps is now becoming an official extension of the protocol. So this means that it's going to be easier to push for new features and have more people work on protocol updates for MCP apps. The auth is also hardening. We've been using OS 2.1 with a few additions since the last year, but they're going to add more stuff, especially for the enterprise use case, and a lot more. If you want to follow the summary of the release candidate, there's a QR code right there. MCP apps, we are a big fan of MCP apps at Alpic. There's also a draft for a new spec update. There is something that I'm super stoked about. It's what they call app provided tool. What this means is that basically the UI is going to be able to expose tools to the model, and this way the LLM is going to be able to call tools directly in the UI and making the UI change without having to go through the backend. And our good friends at MCP Jam released an example of an app for chess, and basically now you can have the LLM play chess directly, and you don't need to go to the backend, which takes forever. Basically, you have the inference, the backend call, the inference again, and so now you can imagine a lot of cool use case where you use this. This is just one example, playing games, but you can also upload a huge document and have the LLM fill out a form instantly for you in the UI, you validating the form and sending it out, and a lot of other stuff that's going to be possible with MCP apps. So that's very cool. Dynamic discovery, this is already a little bit of old news in the age of AI because it's more than a month old. But in Cloud nowadays, Cloud offers you or proposes you to enable MCP apps according to your query. So in this case, I'm looking for a flight, and it's automatically going to tell me, hey, maybe you should use this app, which is the Kiwi app, I think. No, this is going to the airport, not for a flight. But basically, Cloud, yeah, dynamically tells you, hey, this is your query. These apps look like they will fit your query. This is great because it means that it's a lot easier to use MCP apps than before, where you had to go in the connector store, connect the app, say that you want to use the app. So this is a great move from the Anthropic team. We are hoping that OpenAI is going to follow quickly after, but still waiting for news on that. Next one, we have Atlas. That's something we've been building at Alpic that we are giving out for free. It's basically one place to follow all of the publishing of new apps in Claude, in ChatGPT, hopefully in Gemini as well. Yeah, just scan the QR code. It's fully free. You can check all of the apps. We also plugged in our tool that audits all of the apps for quality and compliance. So you also get a quality score from all of the apps out there. Yeah, it's very easy to then go. It's links to all of the app, install it, and check it yourself. But yeah, just a free tool for you. And last but not least, we're gonna run a little lottery at the end of the event. If you gave us a star in the last hour, you'll be able to win one of those cool masks. And for those of you who don't know why we are wearing the ski mask, Alpic initially was a ski shop in the Alps. And because of the event of AI, we decided to pivot to building AI infrastructure. It was quite the pivot, actually. Yeah, a big one, probably one of the biggest one in the tech history. But anyway, if you want to win one of the ski masks, maybe it's not the perfect seasons for ski, but anyway, we have a few to give out. So yeah, just scan the QR code, give us a star, and win the ski mask. With that being said, I think, yeah, basically, yeah, just what this is about, it's starting Skybridge, our repo, fully open source to build MCP apps. And I think just to show you what Skybridge is capable of, Valentin is going to do a quick demo of it. So I'll give you the mic.
Yeah, so I'm going to show you what our framework is used for. Sorry? Yeah, I can zoom in. So I'm going to create a new app right away. So I hope it will go fine. And I'm also going to use Alpic as the cloud hosting platform for MCP, and we'll simulate the use case of a developer who wants to publish MCP app on ChatGPT Store, for example. I'm going to launch straight away a deployment on Alpic, just because it takes sometimes like 2 minutes, and I can talk while it does that. Wait, let me just do that. Oh, fuck. npm install. Yeah. And while it does that, I'm just going to show you Skybridge in some more details. So as of now, we have a playground, which is, think of it as a dev tool where you can just develop your app and have a lot of useful things. So I'm going to show you what the application looks like. It's an application that onboards you as a developer and showcases all the features of what an MCP app is. So basically, you can see it's a React application. Here, I'm just showing the view state of the application. I can trigger tools server side. So you can see all the example on Skybridge documentation. And I'm going to show you now how it looks like when it's deployed on Alpic. Sorry, I didn't load it. Yes.
Yeah, basically, if you recognize the Clippy from 20 years ago, we decided to bring it back to life. It's MCP with 2 E at the end, if you were wondering.
Yeah, so the app is currently deploying on our hosting platform. You can see it here. It's this one. So welcome on Alpic. You have a playground where you have the application that is deployed. You can interact with it with an LLM behind. It takes some time to load, but there we go. So you can see the tools that are available. So we can just ask for starting a new onboarding. This is one of the main features of our application where you can, yeah.
What is your name?
So you can see that the tool is rendering. This is the one we saw in the DevTools here, but now it's living in an actual LLM chat. It would look just the same in ChatGPT, except we are simulating what the ChatGPT host is. So you can interact it like it was in the DevTools. We also have a way to audit your server. So if you just input the domain of your MCP, you can audit it and see if it would pass ChatGPT publishing guidelines. So you can see that my server is passing 23 out of 28 checks. You have a list of everything that is good and what you need to perform to make your server actually accepted by ChatGPT on the store. And you have a feature to autocorrect your application using AI. And lastly, we have a feature to give you some insight about the application. What are your users doing with your MCP app? So you can see the prompt, the intent behind the prompt, and you can categorize and analyze a bit how your users are doing it. And we also have a submission formula that allows you to start a submission and publish your app to the App Store of ChatGPT. So basically, it helps you to organize and summarize everything you need to submit to ChatGPT without you having to think about it. So we pre-fill everything for you, and you can just submit your app to the store.
Thank you, Val.
Yeah.
That being said, yeah, if you want to build or try the platform, there is a free tier that's very generous. Go for it, app.alpic.ai. That being said, I think the mic is going to go to Neil with a few words from Sentry. So yeah, give it up for Neil. Thank you. Need to plug or you just show it?
Hi, my name is Neil, and usually when your company, in this case Sentry, offers to host a meetup, sometimes they get a slot where someone gets to speak. I'm that person. I get to have you all for the next 3 or 4 minutes. Just a couple questions, and then I'm going to let me start presenting. And then I'm going to just do a quick demo. Who here has heard of Sentry before? All right, cool. And this is a safe space. Who has not just heard of Sentry, but used Sentry or some type of application? Okay, maybe like a fifth of the room. That's great. Who has used Sentry to monitor a front end or a back end or a mobile app? Okay, most of those people. Who has used Sentry to monitor their agent or MCP server? Okay, I had a high suspicion it was going to be very little. That's why I'm here, and that's what I'm going to show you. So Sentry, as you guys know, is an application monitoring tool. We just want to make developers' lives better. We want to tell them where their code is broken, where it's slow, and give them all the details to fix it. Most recently, we've invested quite heavily in self-healing so that we can auto-fix errors and all of that type of stuff. So in this case, I have my application, and it is a React front end that's talking to a fast API backend, which is hosting an agent, which is then talking to an Express MCP server, essentially. So that is just to set the stage. I've already instrumented my application with the appropriate SDKs. So I believe it was a Vercel AI SDK that I'm using here. I'm using React on the front end, and then I believe Express on the back end. And then I have a little bit of custom instrumentation as needed as well. So just to kind of set the stage here, what I'm going to be debugging here is, why is this agent so slow? So first of all, it takes a long time to load, but that's not even the biggest problem. The biggest problem is when I start talking to it, it is really slow and it eventually errors out. This is terrible. I have no idea why this is happening. Is this a front end problem, back end problem, database problem, tool call problem, MCP problem, agent problem? I have no idea. So in this case, I'm just going to head over to Sentry. And I'm just going to go to this data set over here, and let's just view it over the last 7 days. And what I'm doing here is viewing my Fast API agent at large. So I can see it's been running, it's been costing me money, it's been issuing some tool calls, it's burning some tokens, and you can see what models I'm using. And from here, I can then pull up any of these traces and see exactly what was going on. So I've already pulled up an error trace as well as one that has a slowdown. So here in this case, it would present me to the AI specific spans here. So what I'm seeing here is not just everything, but what's happening from the moment it hits the agent to, the model to then eventually tool calls and everything else that might happen in between that. Now, I'm just going to take a different pivot of this. This is our conversation view here. So you can see what this would look like in a more raw conversation form, what the inputs were, what the tool calls were, all of that type of stuff. And here, this is the full trace. So you can see it started on the React side. Eventually, we sent a message. There was some slowdowns. Why was it slow? It looks like in my MCP server, when issuing a tool call to fetch a product, there was some slowness. It was an N+1 query. It looks like it was these spans specifically. Guess what? Sentry now has SEER, so it automatically root causes this. It's identified the plan, and this is a classic N+1 problem. I could have just sent this to Claude Code to roll forward and get back to state as well. Now, one other one, here is another experience, but in this case, there was an error. So what I'm going to do is go into the waterfall here. We can see a bunch of red. That's not good. And from within here, we see a couple errors that bubbled up. Most importantly, right over here, I'm going to click in. If you've used Sentry before, I'm sure you've seen this issues view before. And from here, I see the stack trace, all of the other goodies, and then bam, once again, I can just roll forward right here, throw it at cursor agent, and I'm back to stable. That's all I had for you today. So hopefully if you guys are developing agents, MCP servers, or anything in that space, go ahead and check out Sentry. We also have a generous free tier. And at the end of the day, we just want to make your life better so that you can respond to these fires if they do happen as quickly and painlessly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Neil. And next up, we have Thomas from Bitmovin, who's going to give us a little bit of feedback on how it went implementing MCP in production. You're plugged in? Yeah. All right.
All right. Can you hear me fine? So, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, thank you for having me here. I will spend the next 15 minutes to, thank you, the next 15 minutes to showcase you what we are doing with MCP at Bitmovin. We are a video infrastructure company, and we ended up with one MCP router, having several different MCP servers in the background. Many options to do this wrong and right. So who are we? We built the streaming stack for many live and on-demand video streaming services. Maybe some of you already watched something on those platforms this week. We have three main products, encoding, player, and observability. And the thing that matters the most for this talk today is that each of these products have a mature API. And when MCP came around, we weren't thinking about how to build new capabilities for LLMs. We just thought, okay, we already have all this stuff laying around. How can we expose it to the LLMs? And I think everyone can agree that our customers and engineers, they are digging through our systems on a daily basis. In our terms, it means, was the encoding correct? Was there any error? How many viewers or concurrent viewers had the stream or the football match? And what was the error rate on Android in Brazil? And MCP doesn't change any of these questions or systems. It just makes our API conversational. And that's what we're looking at today. So I'm going to start with some infrastructure, and we started with MCP during a hackathon, very naive, and shortly after we published it to well, everyone. The next week, a different team came around with their own implementation of the MCP, the next one, and the next one. So we ended up having 5 different MCP servers, 5 different endpoints, and customer needed to integrate with 5 different MCPs. But as these MCP servers mature, we added things like logging, rate limiting, authentication. So this is a maintenance burden for us. It comes with a cost because you need to implement the same logic in different environments. And the hard thing is to keep everything in sync. So what we recently built is an MCP router, how we call it. It's basically just one integration, one endpoint, customer integrates one, and we fan out all of the requests to the respective MCPs. And this router has 3 simple jobs: handle authentication, pass a security token to the MCPs. There is a namespaced tool. So every tool gets namespaced with the respective product. Because that's important for the routing, it does to actually land on the correct product. And once we extract this layer into one router, we get several benefits. The first one is the security layer is at one place. And if you need to change it, you can roll it out for all of your all of the MCPs at once. And the burden about maintaining it in 5 different environments, it's basically none. The second one is, and this is what we like as engineers, the independent development lifecycle still sits at every team. So if the observability team wants to ship their MCP, they're free to go, and the other teams are not standing in the way. And the third thing is the customer and the LLM gets a namespaced catalog of tools. And with namespaced, I basically mean they're prefixed with the product. That was kind of necessary because many of our MCPs had tools named in a conflicting way. And for example, right now we don't conflict with the observability query and the Streamlab query. But to be honest, this comes with a cost. Because if you provide a whole catalog to the LLM, or if the MCP, if the LLM connects to the MCP, it sees the whole catalog of tools. Even for product, the customer hasn't subscribed to. So if you only use observability, you still end up with encoding and player tools in your context. And this is not free because the more tools you have, the bigger is the prompt and the worse is the tool call accuracy. Because the model itself has more wrong options to choose from. So the obvious fix, we are aware of that. We haven't implemented this, but it's our next logical step, is to filter down the tools based on the customer's subscriptions. And the cool thing is that the router component is the best place to put this in. It already sits at the boundary of this authentication and know who you are. Yeah. We can see this here with our tool set. We have like 9 tools. I think they expand over time, but that's literally our tool set. And for observability customers only, they still have everything. And so if you filter out, you would only see the observability part because it's actually problematic. If you like, if the LLM misunderstands a query or question and uses a different tool, it can actually break, and that's a bad user experience we don't want to have. Okay, so let's look at one MCP that we built, actually one that we were learning a lot of. The observability MCP exposes our data lake to customers. Impressions, errors, quality of service, quality of experience. And we do all of this with a very small set of tools. Sure.
You have one-to-one mapping between the you had observability and postgres there. You have one-to-one mapping between observability set of store tools there. So would they map to core APIs or like?
So the question was if we map the full API with all of these 4 tools. Did I get it right? No. Our observability product has more API and we haven't exposed everything yet. But with these 4 tools, we can solve the biggest question and the biggest use cases. And here are the use cases. So when customers use our MCPs, they don't need to open up dashboards anymore. They have dynamic dashboarding by asking the LLM their question, and the LLM basically uses the tool and just shows it. If you're using Cloud Desktop and use a data tool, you might have seen this, that Cloud Code can visualize these graphs. Very cool. Root cause analysis. The agent assists by digging deeper into the data and isolating the problematic dimensions. The first thing is that the exploration becomes debugging, because we all are curious people and ask questions after question after question. And the investigation becomes a natural conversation. And I want to dig deeper into that because I think it's worth highlighting. MCP doesn't change anything about the querying. That was never a problem because our customers were always able to open a dashboard and change the configuration of the metric and read the data. But translating the query into a UI, reading the data and make sense of it is a cognitive tax. So what the LLM changes is actually the thing that's left behind between the question and the answer is how to properly formulate what you want to have. Oh, I lost the herring. Yeah. So what's left is formulating correctly. And it doesn't stop there by simply fetching the data and presenting it. The agent has access to our whole data lake and can reason on it. So this query tool starts to become a research assistant, and a technical investigation starts to become a natural conversation. So this is how it looks like, very simply put. You ask your question and the agent will follow these 3 steps. We actually don't use any skill here, so these are the 3 steps that the LLMs naturally take. First is discovery. We present the tools and the resources, and it reads what licenses are available, which translates roughly to the environment, like production or staging, different products in your catalog, what metrics are available, and what filters are available. The next step is compiling the query. Basically takes your question and thinks about what do I need to build, what data do I need, and how to fragment it to answer the question. And the last step is to call one or more of the tools to actually get the data. And I will later show you how this all looks like in real. Yeah. And as a last giveaway, I want to show you some observations we did during, we found during development. So the same MCP behaves very differently based on what model you're using. The same tools and the same resources, but the model just calls it differently. Because some of them prefer tools, some of them prefer the resources to answer the same question. And we learned this the hard way. So let's imagine you pick your handbook of your coffee machine and read the instructions how to clean it. The next time you pick it up, the description is differently. So what you do, you're probably confused, but you will definitely change the coffee machine differently. And this happened to us as well when we changed the description of our tools. The model started to behave differently. And this is when we noticed that, okay, the description of the tool is not compared to a description of a method, which is acting like a documentation or some guidance for developer. It actually became kind of a contract, similar to an Alpic contract. And what we were missing is insightful metrics about it. We didn't know what was the impact of the change. So what we are going to build next is a test environment for it. Because testing every change about the small change in the description doesn't scale in this matter. And we all know that the proper test environment keeps us safe. So the idea of this is very basic. We have a set of prompts, and every time we do a change to the MCP, we run these prompts on the models that are important for us. And after that, we can compile metrics like how successful is the answer to the question, or how good was the tool call accuracy based on what we think that the model needs to call. And our goal with this is really to stabilize the tool call accuracy and really to catch the next time when a rewording confuses a model too much. Yeah, and so with that, this is how we scale MCP to production at Bitmovin. And if you have any question, please go for it. Yep. So how do we secure our agents in terms of authentication or in terms of data access?
Like prompt injection.
That's a good question. Because, I mean, we're talking here about the MCP, and the MCP in general doesn't have a problem with prompt injection, I think. So that's not a matter for us. We have an AI assistant on our platform as well. And this is a very beta stage feature, I'd say. So we haven't looked into guardrails or anything like that. Welcome.
Go to the previous slide. So over here, when you compare the results, what are you tracking in terms of accuracy? Like, how do you say this works versus this doesn't work? And the part two is, what do you do about it? Like, say, the developers pushed a new version of MCP altogether, right? Like you have those 4 MCPs in the back, right? And then they exposed a whole bunch of other tools. Now you run this process and things go like not to your expectation, right? Like, okay, this doesn't look right, but there's a very big feature dump there. Like, yeah, the customers are asking for this. We need these tools, but I can't get it right. So say you run this process, you say, we can't approve this. It messes it up. But like the product team pushes and says, hey, you know what? We need this. So my question is like, you're going to run into this. How are you looking at this?
I think if you have these conversations with product, product really wants to have something and you are faced with this technical difficulty, I think you need to arrange and come to an agreement. There is always a possible way to do the best thing possible. And in this world, I think we need to explore more and more the capabilities of MCPs as well as the agents and how we can build these new features. So I'd say the same as with APIs, everything is possible, but we need to find a way how to get there. I think this agent harness or this test harness is a way how you can do incremental steps in a very controlled manner, and adding these atomic tools to not break anything else. Because I can imagine that if you have a very diverse tool set and you grow and grow, the LLM becomes more and more confused about what to actually choose from.
Another question here.
I have two questions, if you don't mind. An extension to the gentleman's earlier question. Is it one tool, one API call, or multiple API calls?
The resources are a mix of static information, like what metrics are available and what filters are available. And the license call is the license information is like one API call, and the query tools are also one API call, because the information or the parameter of the tools are basically just the parameter that we fill into the API calls. It's as simple as that. It's basically just another wrapper around our API.
Yeah, so is it like orchestrating multiple APIs to pull the information as a result of that tool call?
Pardon me, that.
Is it calling multiple APIs to pull information from different places to return it in that tool?
Oh, no, no.
No, it's just the one.
It's
Yeah.
just one call.
Got it.
It gets the data and returns it, yes.
Good. And just in general, any anti-patterns you came across while building this MCP?
I will think about that. Okay. Come to me later. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a question because I saw that there was the discover the schema and then query. Is that the LLM constructing the SQL, or is that also an API call? Yeah, that
This one?
Yeah.
So your question is about how the LLM gets to this workflow, or?
My question is, do you have the LLM create the SQL that's being run in this situation, or not, or it's the API call?
Sorry, can you repeat the question, please? I don't get this.
Oh, just like, is the LLM like creating SQL itself
Oh,
that you then run?
the SQL statement, the SQL query?
Yeah.
No. So the query tool has parameters, and they translate to our metrics and our different categories you can filter on. It is very SQL-like because you select a different select a certain dimension and can set things like, I want to filter where, I don't know, platform equals to Android.
Yeah.
So it's very SQL-like, but they're actually just filling out parameters. Oh, and I actually wanted to show you this, right? Thank you for remembering me. Yeah, so I prepared this. Plot desktop, hope everyone know this. And I asked him, okay, give me a combined breakdown of total hours watched by device type and operating system for the last week. And what we can see in here is it picked the license, which is basically just exploring the scope of the data. I told him to use a specific license That's the license that tracks our own website. And it explores the metrics, it explores the filters, and then it figures out that, okay, here is the metric, it's total hours watched. I need to probably take 2 different tools in order to group the data. And once all the information is grabbed, you see that we are using here a version of our MCP apps to display the data. And in the first one, we have the time series data, total hours watched. And in the second one, we have the device types. And you can also like change to different categories which we support. Yeah, and down here, this is the thing why this is selling so good is that it reasons about the data. Down here, for example, we see that it just raises awareness about the very interesting thing about the data set. Instead, there is no end rate. You see? And this is where it continues. You're curious, you start your next question and your next question. So this becomes very conversational and the investigation becomes just effortless. I think there was a question back there.
Yeah, maybe one last one. You're closer. Yeah, we're going to have time after. You're going to be able to ask your questions directly also, no worries.
So I was actually going to ask a question about this dashboard use case. It was interesting when you showed it. You guys have pretty large streaming customers like Dozen and all those platforms. Do they have those internal tools that they can connect to your MCP right now, where the employees of those streaming platforms can actually form these dashboards from themselves? Or is that like a small use case for very small portion of your customers, which then makes you think about perhaps integrating this within your own platform so that now any user can see the analytics within a chat interface if you're seeing value from that?
So with the observability MCP, we are currently starting to get more and more awareness at our customers, and the examples that I showed are actually from our customers. So they're starting to use more and more, and we are learning more and more how customers are using our MCP. And this is definitely something that we would like to also integrate in our dashboard, because it's, yeah, we are first. This is the first interaction point in our dashboard, and to showcase the capabilities of that is obviously very useful. To get even further, what we are thinking about building is, because you mentioned this, showing the graphs as you asked, we want to let the customer define custom dashboards. Like if they want to dig down into a specific topic and want to see this over and over again, they can verbalize about the topic, what they're looking for, what problems they want to solve with them. And we build this custom dashboard for them and save it for later use and for sharing. So this is definitely something where we want to explore more and more.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. One last question. Where do you host your MCP server?
Yeah, we use Alpic to host our MCP.
You do?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
This is working. All right. Okay. Well, hello again, everyone. I'm Charles. I'm one of the co-founder of Alpic. And today I want to tell you, I mean, if you noticed, the edition of this MCP Connect was called Headless SaaS. And I want to talk about all of the potential new interfaces that you can build on top of your SaaS to offer to your customers. Yeah, Alpic, so we are the MCP and MCP apps. We had the demo already. I'm going to skip through that. Skybridge, just a reminder, if you didn't start, there's still a few masks to win. I'm going to give it 10 seconds, maybe 5. So yeah, 1 star, 1 mask. All right, so MCP that we just talked about, MCP apps, CLI, skills, plugins, we actually built all of them for Alpic and for Skybridge. So we have the whole tool set. It's kind of our DNA to help connect agents to tools. So we had to try everything. And this is why today we're going to share some of the learnings we had while building them and also while using them. The first question that we wanted to answer today is SaaS dead? Because you probably seen all of the Twitter posts, SaaS is dying, etc., etc. I don't think it's actually dead. It's just lost its head, which is not necessarily mean that it's dead. You can still potentially survive for a little bit. And by its head, we mean the dashboard. The good old dashboard where we spent countless hours for the last 15 years. This has been built for humans. And well, soon there's going to be no more humans using it because we're going to have agents everywhere. And already seeing it with coding agents, namely, but I'm thinking also about autonomous agents, OpenClaw, Hermes, all of those guys, general purpose agents for all of the non-coders, so Cowork, Sparks. I made a chatbot, that's the one we just seen from Bitmovin as well, enterprise-specific internal chatbot that I've seen as well. So yeah, agents everywhere. And they can theoretically use the dashboard. We actually played with this a while ago, and it's still not there yet. To be honest, you can use browser use, or you can use the Playwright MCP to connect an agent to a browser and use the dashboard. It can work, but yeah, there are just much better options that we're going to dig into today. The first one is MCP. You guys know MCP. I'm not going to spend too much on what is it, but just that it's dead, apparently, also. I don't know if you've seen all of the posts, but it's supposed to be dead, even though there is like 110 million plus downloads every month of all of the different MCP SDK. But yeah, MCP has a few benefits. The first one, it's extremely easy to integrate. Just point your MCP client's URL and you're done. That's something we can't say for all of the stuff that we're going to talk after. The second one, it has authentication built in. It's using OS 2.1, and this is actually huge. It means there's no debate. It's when you build an MCP server, you know what you have to build, and when you use it, it's always working. DOS is always working, which is also great for all of the enterprise use cases. It's actually huge. Enterprise is not a tiny piece of the distribution of this technology. There is a lot of companies who have been raising dozens of billions on building gateways in the last 8 months. So that means role-based access control, audit trails, and all of those kind of boring stuff that's actually very important for technology. MCP works with all of that. It's very easy to implement telemetry. Actually, as you can see, Thomas can probably tell you again, you are owning the server, so it's very easy to monitor it, send events about what are the queries that are being asked, and monitor how your MCP server is being used. It's also possible to build human-in-the-loop workflows. There is a feature of MCP that's called elicitation that enables the server to say, wait, I need more info from the user, display something to the users on the client, have the user complete the information that is missing. Even though that's not a feature that's broadly available, there is VS Code, there is Goose, there's Cursor, there's a few other that implements it, but hopefully it's going to be more in the future. You can also do long-running tasks. That was one of the previous releases of MCP. It's also something that's kind of under the radar at the moment, but you can theoretically even put an agent behind an MCP that's running something for an hour and sends back the result. The protocol is built for that. So that's all great. There are a few drawbacks about MCP. The first big criticism that we had for a long time last year and this year was that you load a bunch of tools inside of the context instantly, and that bloats the content without doing, you even have prompted anything that it's already bloated. But that's being fixed. Actually, Claude was the first one to implement it, but Claude now is using tool search by default. Even if you have 200 MCP servers connected, it's not going to load all of the tools in the context. There is a tool, so it's going to search when you ask something to Claude, it's going to take the keyword in your query, search its catalog of tools, and only load in the context the tools that seems relevant. So that's great. So that problem is kind of solved on the client side. And MCP, there is something in the working groups. They are working on having this natively inside of MCP. So hopefully this is going to be a thing of the past very soon. it's not composable. That, for me, is the major big problem with MCP. The moment you want to try and build complex workflows where the result of an MCP call is going into the entry of another MCP, this is problematic because you have to send back all of the results to the context of the model in between, where the intermediary results are not very useful. And this creates a lot of problems. So if you're trying to do long-running tasks where there's like tons of MCP calls, this is going to break instantly. LLM is going to be very stupid, very fast. And so, yeah, that's one of the big drawbacks for MCP. So this is basically not very usable for autonomous agent. Like, this is why the OpenClaw curator is famously against MCP, because when you have you send a Slack message to your OpenClaw to do something where he has to do a bunch of stuff. If there is MCP in the mix, it's going to create problems. Last but not least, it's not very min-maxing on token efficiency. It's okay, to be honest, and I'm using MCP a lot for a lot of stuff, but it's true that there is a bunch of improvements you could do. It's loading some stuff in the context, even output schemas and stuff that are not always necessary. So it still works for a lot of stuff, but yeah, there is stuff to improve. MCP apps, which I'm a big fan of, so I'm going to have to talk a little bit about it. If you didn't know, MCP can ship now UIs, and this is an example, famous example of the Excalibur MCP app, where it can draw live a diagram for you. So I've stopped the drawing diagrams by hand. And the cool thing is that once it's done, you can actually go in and make small changes, because that's usually how it works. Like the first draft by LLM is good because you didn't have to draw all of those big boxes, but still, you want to do small adjustment yourself. So MCP app is a great way to ship UI for agent. It comes with all of the benefits of MCP. It's built on top of it, so you get all of the benefits we saw previously. For me, one of the key arguments for MCP apps is that when you have a user who is sitting in front of a chat who wants the results now, and these results need UI, a result that is difficult to have by pure text. There is no better solution than MCP apps today. There is a lot of company, Google being one of them, experimenting with actually generating UI on the fly by the model, but this is still too slow today and too error prone. You're not guaranteed that the UI is going to be the right one for the data. So today, yeah, if you want to have wants to have a results now or in the next 5-10 seconds, it's not like an OpenClaw where you send a message, you go out and you come back. And this results needs UI. There's nothing that beats MCP app at the moment. It's also killer for products that I call UI-based products. So this is typically the Excalibur, but you can think Canvas, Photoshop, Figma. Whenever the output is like pure UI or the product itself is UI, when you think about it, Excalibur, it's just UI, that's the product, there's no data behind. Well, this is great for MCP. This is why the Excalibur MCP app is amazing, because you can collaborate with the model on the UI. We show in the news earlier, but the upcoming app tool feature is going to be great. It's going to enable way faster interaction on the UI from the model. So I'm very looking forward to that. It's going to kind of change what you can build with MCP app. And also, importantly, the people who build the MCP, so the people who own the data, also control the UI, which is great, because then you can build UI that match the data. The UI generation that Google is building at the moment is still problematic because the people who build the data don't know how it's going to be displayed. So today you can have one engineer or maybe a couple of engineers with a bunch of cloud codes that knows their data and knows how it's best displayed. And you can also do human in the loop stuff without the elicitation stuff, just using the UI that you have. There is a few drawbacks. The first one is that, yes, it's great for those synchronous chats, but it's only great for this. It doesn't do anything for an OpenClaw or Hermes. Even in co-work, if you want to do complex tasks, MCP app is kind of useless. And it also have the same problem of MCP. You cannot do intermediate stuff, you cannot compose. And it's also sparsely supported. Today you have Claude and ChatGPT, which are the big ones. You have VS Code, Cursor, Goose, and a few others soon, but it's not something that's supported everywhere. And we at Alpic, we build a playground that supports MCP apps, and it's some work. So it's not something you can easily support. Like the raw MCP client support is actually fairly easy to implement, but the MCP app support is a lot more complicated. CLI. So CLI, you all know CLI. I think it's right there, even though it's the oldest technology in the hype cycle, it's the one that's been hyped the most in the last 6 months. OpenClaw being one of the good contributors to this hype. CLI is great. Models are deeply trained in Bash. They don't need to have a doc to know how to do Bash. They know it very well, better than all of us here. It's extremely composable, which is the exact opposite of MCP. So yeah, whenever you have long-running tasks, agent can build code on top of, can write Bash scripts and code on top of CLI that's easily piping stuff together. So this is amazing. It's working way to do very, very complex tasks. It's naturally, the discoverability of the CLI is naturally progressive just by using the help. So the LLM knows very well how to use the help at the root of the CLI, then ding it to the different command with help, and so you don't load the context with the initial instructions. It's the same interface that we use, so CLI can be used by both a human and an agent, which is great because you can put a lot of thoughts into one product. It has some drawbacks. One of the big ones that I don't know if any of you work in big enterprise, but so if having an LLM write code and run code that is not controlled on your computer or potentially in the sandbox can be a security nightmare. So this is why blocking the use of CLI by autonomous agents inside of enterprise at the moment. There is not one way to do auth. This is converging. There's a lot of people who are using kind of the same auth-based, where you first log in via your browser, save a token locally. But this problem is also that usually it's all-in-one auth. So again, in the enterprise setup, it's difficult to do role-based access control or finer grain permissions on top of a CLI at the moment. Telemetry is not trivial. If you're using an API, yes, you can do telemetry on the API that the CLI is using. But if you're shipping a binary that's packaging the value, it's harder to do telemetry from the CLI because you need to have your user being accepting to send a bunch of events, which by experience, it's not always trivial. Yeah, so that's it for CLI. Next up, we have skills. Skills right away, it's not an interface actually, it's just a recipe. So you still need to build all of the other stuff. The whole debate that we had like a few months ago about skill versus MCP versus CLI is kind of silly because skill is a way to tell your agent how to use the MCP, how to use the CLI, how to use your SDK or your API. But it's a must. To me, the moment you have any of the others, you need to give a skill to people. It's actually fairly easy. You can spend a couple of weeks building your first skill, but it's something that you have to do. It's designed for progressive discovery, the way it's layered with folders, with a basically small instruction at the beginning that allows the LLM to dig into your skill to understand more how to use it. It's very portable. You can version the skill with the rest of your interfaces as well. And which I think is great that we do a lot, the skill can nudge the LM towards other compatible solutions, stuff that you know are working well. And this is great. If you're distributing a product that works well with others, the skill is a great way to kind of advertise these other products. Plugins, I don't know if you followed also, but so yeah, Claude, Cowork, Claude Code, Codex, Cursor, they all have their plugins marketplace now. What are plugins? Well, plugins, it's everything together. It's a skill, an MCP, a CLI, an SDK, a bunch of scripts. And so all of those companies, OpenAI, Anthropic, are telling you, hey, build a plugin that's packaging everything together. So for me, this is a clear sign that, yes, you need to build all of the others and not choose. This is why we did it all. And also, you should keep your dashboard because it's still only 2026. Things goes fast, but you still have people who want to actually see the data, click around, go and verify what the agent has done. So yeah, you're still going to have to keep your dashboard as an interface for a while, I think. A quick word about the embedded chatbots that we saw. For me, this is amazing because you control everything. So it's more work to implement, but you control the model, the UI, the system prompts. You can build any telemetry. You can understand what are the questions exactly that your user are asking. So this is great for any product person, but also you have to manage to have your user use it because like it's another chat. People are used to go to whatever they're using, Claude Code, Cursor, Codex, co-work, having to open a tab to go to a chatbot, it's not something that a lot of people are doing at the moment, sadly. But yeah, so for me, the conclusion is that interfaces for your SaaS are just distribution channel more than a new architecture decision, I think. You just have to go where your user or their agents are. And so there's a quick table. I'm going to share the slide after, but yeah, depending on what agents your user are using, coding agent, autonomous agent, general purpose agent, or general web chats, there's different good or bad interfaces or the best ones to use. So yeah, just a quick recap here. With that being said, thank you everyone. I have just a couple of, if you want to grab the slides, they are in the middle, my LinkedIn and link to Alpic. With that being said, I think we can take a couple of questions from the audience maybe. And reminder, there's going to be a schematics to win just after this.
For the QR code.
How has the, thank you for the presentation. Quick question, how has the usage been on MCP apps? How many people have been actually installing them in ChatGPT, Anthropic, and and how much effort does it take to go through to use Skybridge to set it up?
Yeah, great set of questions. So Skybridge, it's very easy. I recommend you to go to the page. There's a one-liner for your agents to install the skill and then just talk to it. I wish to do the demo, but like basically in 10 minutes, you can have a running MCP app that's covering the basic of your use case. So yeah, it's fairly easy to build. This is why there's like 1,500 apps in the ChatGPT App Store at the moment, 500 on Cloud, I think. Usage question. So surprisingly, there is a lot more usage of MCP apps inside of Cloud than in ChatGPT. For me, one of the key reasons is that first, the dynamic discovery that I showed in the news, the fact that Cloud pushes app to user makes it a lot more natural for people to actually try the apps. Whereas in ChatGPT, we know from good source that they are working on the dynamic discovery, but they put a lot of effort on codecs lately. So MCP app has been delayed a little bit. But we also do have a couple of great travel apps that we have hosted on Alpic and retail app that are seeing actually quite the usage. I think like the biggest app that we have is the one from kiwi.com, which is a flight search aggregators. And this server receives around 30,000 queries per day on asking for specific flights. So this is growing every month on month. We are not doubling, but almost doubling the traffic we're seeing on MCP in general.
Yeah, so Salesforce, you know the story. Do you see like, where do you see the apps going? Like they've been standardized in a couple of platforms. Do you like, this is more of a general like directional thing. Like where do you see this apps going? Do you think like maybe in like 3 or 5 years, app is the equivalent of SaaS today?
No. For me, like I said here, apps covers, it's one piece of the puzzle. I don't think we're going to have one interface. It's not going to be like CLI and nothing else. Again, for me, apps cover greatly and nothing beats it, the synchronous chat, which is still going to happen for a long time. I feel like a lot of time you want to have an answer now. And if the answer is not text, there's nothing that beats apps. So for me, at the moment at least, and for a while, there's nothing that's going to be that. What could beat it is generation of UI on the fly by the model. That could be, if the model gets a lot better and a lot faster and cheaper, that could potentially replace the apps. But for now, I don't think anything that beats apps for this use case of synchronous chat, why I need to see photos, I need to see visuals, basically.
So you kind of talked about the different categories. One thing that wasn't discussed was like with MCP apps, you're projecting this little iframe into a provider chat, and it's pretty limited, especially around like reactivity. So like it's hard to have a interactive experience. Like maybe you can talk to that a little bit, both like within the chat, what the limitations of the protocol there are in terms of like a collaborative work surface versus like it shows you do something and then it has to invoke another iframe underneath that. And the other one is, if that's too clunky, what about just having protocols to bind to a browser session where you're interacting with that browser and it's hot reloading as a way where you have a little bit more control. You're not constrained in some clunky little iframe.
Two great questions. So the first question about the interactivity, I mentioned the stuff that's in the draft of the new spec of MCP app, which is the app tools, which means that you won't have to either render a new widget, or you won't have to go to the backend to update the view. This means that the model can update the view directly without going, so that makes it a lot faster. And I think for me, this is going to change a lot, because I agree, some of the complex use cases are quite clunky. We built something that's like Excalibur-like without the MCP app tool, and it's super, you have to go to the backend, you have to hack your way, and it's still pretty slow. But with this, I think it's going to change. So look for it. It's going to probably be out in a month from now. It's in the draft, so a few people are supporting it. We just integrated it into our dashboard. And the second question was about WebMCP, kind of. Yeah.
To an actual browser session.
Yeah.
Dashboard, if you.
So yeah, again, this for me, you could do a lot, especially with the, I don't know if you know, so WebMCP is a way for you on your HTML to describe the HTML to an agent saying, look, there's a button here that does this, there's a button here that does that, there's a form here. And this way, an agent that controls the browser can actually call tool on the browser a lot faster than understanding through the HTML and trying to click at the right spot. So this enables this kind of interactive session where the agent takes control of the browser. For me, this could also, true, I didn't mention it, but this could solve a bunch of problems. But again, you need to allow the agent to use the browser. So local, I would do it a lot because we have like a full-on YOLO mode on everything. But here again, for some of the enterprises use cases might be problematic, but I agree, this is actually a possibility.
Your MCP, like you just provide an ID, put a browser, hot reload it. You can still interface with MCP, right?
You
Full screen window, not a crappy little.
But yeah, I agree. This is something actually to look after. Thank you.
Hello. I love how you over here. I love that you're looking at plugins in the way that you are as the bundled solutions that they actually can be. Do you see it evolving into any set of standards around it? Because it seems like everyone's going to kind of have their own way of integrating it, because standards are what allow us to build better and more.
I very much agree. And like, if you look, because I spent a lot of time reading all of the documentation on all of the plugin marketplaces, and in the end they are like very close but a little different. It's like the agent.md, the cloud.md, like guys, you know pick something. I'm hoping they will converge, but in the sense for us at Alpic, we're trying to make everything simpler for people. So let's diverge and we'll build the polyfill on top that makes it easy for everybody. So but yeah, I think they all converge in the idea. They all realize that this is what makes agent powerful, bundling everything together. Yeah, but on the exact formats, I'm not sure we get a plugin protocol anytime soon.
Is anyone moving in that direction?
Not from what we've heard. But if you look at the documentation, it's the same stuff. It's just slightly different in the naming and everything.
One last question.
Okay, time for the lottery before we leave. So we have